Boker Tov, good morning everybody. Thank you very much for joining us right here in Yerushalayim, Jerusalem at 9:15 as we have a regular class every morning in Chassidut B'ezrat Hashem, and you can open your Siddur or your Mishna to Pirkei Avot, Ethics of Our Fathers, Perek Shlishi, the third chapter. We're up to Mishna Tetvav, Mishna 15. Thank you very much to Raya and Mordechai for hosting this shir live, and B'ezrat Hashem also will be posted on our YouTube channel. Mishnah Tetvav reads as follows: Hakol tzafui. Everything is clear, is seen, is viewed by Hashem. Even what a person does in their own private domain, Hashem sees everything. V'harashut netuna. Hashem gives a person permission to choose between good and the opposite, life and, God forbid, the opposite. That's actually in this week's parsha. Ubacharta b'chayim. The Torah tells us that we have a choice to do good or bad, and it says you should choose good. So the famous question is, why do you have to tell a person to choose good? Which lunatic would not choose good? And the answer is, Ubacharta b'chayim is not only telling us what to do. Ubacharta b'chayim, that you should choose life, is also giving you a koach and an energy that Hashem wants us to know that He's not only telling us what to do from above and then we're left for ourselves. Rather, Hashem gives us the ability, gives us the koach to be able to choose good, because it's not always so clear. If it was clear, then there wouldn't be a big deal. But sometimes, when it's not clear, Hashem helps us, and hopefully we make the right choices of good and life. Uvetov ha'olam nidon. Tov means good, with mercy. Hashem judges the world with mercy. Nevertheless, not everyone is equal as far as what the outcome will be, because it all depends on the last four words of the Mishnah, the Hakol lefi rov hamaaseh. We're going to talk about this a little bit. It's all according to the quantity of actions. The simple meaning is that when a person does a mitzvah, often we say, well, is the quality of the mitzvah more important or the quantity? And it's not only by mitzvahs. In general, we have this challenge. What's more important, quality or quantity? So usually the answer is, what do you mean? Quality. For example, Am Yisroel, in Numbers, Atem hama'at mikol amim. You are the smallest number of all of the nations. Nevertheless, we are the chosen nation, as we talked about yesterday. The chosen nation means that we have the most quality of everyone else in the world. So it doesn't necessarily go according to the numbers. Nevertheless, over here we say, V'hakol lefi rov hamaaseh. It is also important to focus on the quantity. It's not only quality. Quantity is also important. For example, as the Rambam explains the mitzvah of tzedakah, that if a person gives $1,000 or a certain amount of money, it's better to give it in smaller numbers. You can give the same amount to the same person, to the same institution. If you do it in a few shots, even one after the other, every time you do the mitzvah, let's say 5 seconds you do this amount, then you do another amount, and then another few $100s. Every time you do the thing, you're accomplishing another mitzvah. So v'akol lefi rov hamaaseh, a person gets more reward based on how much quantity a person accomplishes as far as the Torah and mitzvahs are concerned. So the Bartanura explains that if someone increases and does a lot of masim tovim, good deeds, then Hashem gives him a lot of rachamim. Like we said a few words ago, Uvetov ha'olam nidon, that the world is judged with good, with rachamim, with mercy. Another interpretation is that if a person has many merits, then the person turns out to be meritorious. If a person has many sins, God forbid, then that person can have less merits and more punishment, God forbid. Now the Rambam explains over here, we talk about from the beginning of the Mishnah, Hakol Tzafui, Hashem sees everything. So the Rambam explains that every single thing that a person did and what they're going to do, everything is revealed in front of Hashem. Hashem knows everything. He's personally involved in everything. Yodea ma sheyaseh adam. Hashem knows what a person will do. So then, a person might think that if Hashem knows what we're going to do, then He knows if we're going to be a tzaddik or, God forbid, the opposite. On the other hand, the next word of the Mishnah, Harashut Netuna, that the permission is given to a person to make the right choice. So a person might think, the Rambam explains, if Hakol Tzafui, if Hashem knows what's going to be, then perhaps he doesn't have a choice. Everything is already decided for him beforehand. The answer is no. Hashem knows what's going to be. Hashem, imagine that Hashem watches the video of the event before it happens. I have to speak in our terms. So let's say you have a bar mitzvah. It comes and you have a videographer. It does a great job. And then after the bar mitzvah, you're able to watch the recording. But can you watch the recording before the bar mitzvah happened? It seems to be insane. How could that happen? How could that be? And so Hashem, because Hashem Haya Hove Ve'yeh Ke'echad, Hashem was, is, and will be all in the same moment, then He is able to put Himself in the situation of the future now, even before it happens, because He knows what's going to happen. So just because He knows in advance what's going to happen, it doesn't mean that you have to do something. It means that He knows in advance your choice. Are you ready? That you're going to have made. So for a human being, it's hard for us to hear these words. But that doesn't mean that it's not possible. As an explanation, excuse me, Hashem's knowledge is not the cause for a person to do something. On the contrary, the person is the cause, and the knowledge of Hashem is the outcome. So a person decides on his actions what to do, good or, God forbid, the opposite, according to his own decisions. And Hashem knows what a person is going to decide. That is unlike those people who tell the future tellers, and they can see what's going to happen. So it's clear to us that his ability does not have any effect on what the person is going to do. Just a moment. It's a very deep subject, and I want to get it. I want to get it and give it over to you clearly. So I'm going to go back on the last sentence that I said. Similar to a concept of those people who are able to tell the future. So it's obvious that the person who tells the future does not have any mandate and does not force the person to do anything, action which he foretells. He's just telling you that he knows what's going to be. The same thing is by Hashem. HaKadosh Baruch Hu ro'eh tanolad. Obviously, Hashem is the source. Hashem sees that which will be born. Hashem sees what's going to be after they're born. And if a person will ask, how is it possible the knowledge of the Creator doesn't have any effect on the person? So Chassidut explains that the knowledge of Hashem does not have an effect on the person because it comes only in a makif way. A makif is something which surrounds. It's not something which becomes internalized. Just like a person's thought does not cause a person to change that which hovers over his thought, so too the ability of a Kadosh Baruch Hu that this knowledge should be Da'at Alyon is only a makif. It doesn't have any effect on us because it surrounds us, it hovers over us, not literally like a circle, but it rests upon us from a distance. So it doesn't really have an effect on the person, and it doesn't force him to do anything. It's the person that makes the decisions. Obviously, Hashem is the one who decides that he should make the decisions, and Hashem knows in advance what the decisions will be. That's as far as the first part of the Mishnah. Hakol tzafoi, everything Hashem sees in advance. Varashut netuna, and Hashem gives us permission to be able to make the right decisions. Then at the end of the Mishnah, v'hakol lefi rov ha'maaseh, it's all according to the number, to the quantity of what we've done. So we explained when we learned the Mishnah that the most important thing is how often, the quantity of how often a person does the act. And the classical example is the example of tzedakah. The more you do the mitzvah, the more reward you have, and the greater the mitzvah is. It's not only about the quality of the mitzvah, tzedakah is amazing, but it's also about the quantity. And the Alter Rebbe explains in this subject, based on what the Rambam said, we learned earlier, that what is it that happens when a person gives tzedakah? The example of tzedakah is not just an example, but specifically this mitzvah that the Rambam chose is the best example for this, because that which is accomplished when we do many numbers of this mitzvah on many occasions, then it has a greater effect. Why? Because what happens every time we give tzedakah? The Alter Rebbe says in the Tanya, we draw down Chayim Elyonim, the elevated life, Mechaye HaChayim Ein Sof Baruch Hu, from the infinite life of lives. Hashem is the source of all life. Therefore, the Rambam, the Alter Rebbe explains, brings an example from tzedakah. Because every time you put the coin in the pushka, in the tzedakah box, you are drawing down the highest levels of Chayim Elyonim, the elevated life, many times. So when we asked earlier, is it more important to have quality or is it more important to have quantity? The answer is that over here we have both. It's not just that the Mishnah is telling us that in this case of tzedakah, quantity is more important than quality. No, over here, they both go hand in hand. Over here you have quality of the highest level, tzedakah, which every time we give tzedakah, we are drawing down, we are connecting to the Chayei Chaim, Ein Sof Baruch Hu, to the infinite light and life of Hashem, who is the source of all life in this world. And moreover, here comes in the Mishnah, the Mishnah teaches us that the more quantity that we put tzedakah on the pushka, or we give tzedakah, it helps even more. It makes more of a statement. It brings a person more bracha, more reward. So while every mitzvah is very, very qualitative, and not sure if there are many examples, like for example, tefillin. There's no point in putting on tefillin many times a day. You put on the tefillin, and you have a reward, because it's a very quality mitzvah. Over here by tzedakah, the more times do the mitzvah, hakol lefi rov ha'maaseh. It all goes according to how many times we do the mitzvah. That is an extra bracha for the person and their surroundings. Thank you to everybody for joining us. Bezrat Hashem, tomorrow we're going to continue as we inch closer to the end of Perek Shlishi. This is an amazing accomplishment, Baruch Hashem. Thank you so much for being part of all of this learning. And of course, Friday morning, we'll be learning Kabbalah Cafe together. Shalom, shalom. Have a wonderful day. All the best.